The Highlands of Scotland awakened beneath a blanket of mist. The wind moves slowly across the heather, whispering through stone ruins older than memory. In the heart of this ancient landscape lies a long, narrow wound in the earth, Loch Ness, a body of water so deep and dark it swallows light itself. 23 miles long, more than 700 feet deep, it holds more water than all the lakes of England and Wales combined. To many, it also holds something else. Long before cameras and headlines, the story began with a monk and a monster. In the year 565 AD, an Irish missionary named Saint Columba traveled through the Highlands to spread Christianity. Along the banks of the River Ness, his followers encountered villagers burying a man torn apart by what they called a water beast. When another swimmer attempted to cross, Columba raised his hand and commanded the creature to stop. The monks wrote that it halted at once and slipped beneath the current. That account, recorded in the Vita Columbae, became the first written record of a creature in these waters, the first breath of what would one day be known as the Loch Ness Monster. Centuries passed. Kingdoms rose and fell. The legend drifted into folklore, traded by travelers around peat-fired hearths. Some said the loch was haunted by ancient spirits, others believed it bottomless, connected by tunnels to the sea. The mist kept its secrets. Then came the 20th century, the age of engines, flashbulbs, and the promise that everything hidden could be revealed. It was April 1933 when the silence of the loch broke again. A local couple, John and Aldi McKay, were driving along the new road near Inverness when the water ahead began to churn. They watched as a tremendous creature, they later told reporters, rose from the surface, rolling and plunging like a whale. Their testimony was brief, only seconds, yet it ignited a wildfire. The Inverness Courier printed the story, and within days London papers seized it. Cameras, tourists, and curiosity descended on the Highlands. For the first time in history, belief and technology met upon these shores. By December 1933, new witnesses had come forward. Hugh Gray, a worker from Foyers, captured what he claimed was photographic proof. A blurred shape, serpentine and immense, breaking the surface of the loch. The image was grainy, imperfect, but mesmerizing. Was it the head and neck of a living creature, or simply ripples and light distorted by motion? The debate began, and the world listened. Soon the quiet village of Drumnadrochit found itself transformed. Hotels filled, boats patrolled the water. Reporters interviewed farmers and fishermen who spoke of wakes with no boats or humps gliding through moonlit fog. Each story fed another, each rumor deepened the myth. Behind the frenzy lay the loch itself, vast, cold, ancient. Scientists described its unique shape, a trench carved by glaciers, layered with thermoclines where water of different temperatures never fully mixes. Down there, sunlight never reaches. Visibility fades to black within 10 feet. Anything or nothing could move unseen. By 1934, the search had become a national obsession. Expeditions arrived with telephoto lenses and harpoons. Newspapers printed daily updates beside royal gossip. The Loch Ness Monster was no longer just a local legend. It had become a symbol. Proof, perhaps, that mystery still lived in the modern age. And as the fog rolled back across the Highlands each evening, the watchers stayed. On the surface of that endless water, they waited for something to rise.
The year was 1934, and the world had fallen in love with a shadow. Every ripple in the loch was now a headline, every wave a whisper of the impossible. And in April, the myth found its face. A London physician named Robert Kenneth Wilson claimed to have captured the clearest image yet. The photograph, later known simply as the surgeon's photo, showed a dark serpentine neck rising from calm water. It was elegant, eerie, and believable enough to send shivers through an age that believed it had already conquered mystery. For the next 60 years, that grainy silhouette would become the most famous image of an unknown creature ever taken. But behind the still frame was a story of rivalry, revenge, and fabrication. In 1994, 6 decades after the photograph's release, new evidence surfaced in a book called Nessie, the Surgeon's Photo Exposed. It revealed that Wilson's photo was not his at all. The true architect was Marmaduke Wetherell, a big-game hunter humiliated by newspapers after his earlier monster footprints turned out to be hoaxes made with a hippo's foot. Seeking revenge, he and his stepson constructed a small toy submarine with a sculpted serpent's head, staged the shot, and enlisted Wilson, a respected doctor, to give the image credibility. The deception worked. It fooled generations. Yet even after the confession, belief refused to sink, because the photograph, though false, had captured something real, not a creature, but a longing. The world wanted to believe that ancient monsters still lurked beyond the reach of science, that there were still places where imagination might outswim explanation. In the wake of the surgeon's photo, the loch became a theater of obsession. Through the 1940s and 1950s, reports flooded in from motorists, fishermen, even police officers. Constable Alex Campbell, who served as water bailiff on Loch Ness, recorded numerous official sightings, noting a creature of considerable length and power. His reports lent authority to what newspapers had turned into fantasy. Then in 1954, the story entered a new era, one of instruments and measurement. A fishing boat named Rival 3, equipped with sonar, detected a large moving object following it for nearly half a mile deep beneath the hull. The signal was solid, consistent, and unexplainable. For the first time, machines, not eyes, had glimpsed something alive in the darkness. Science could no longer ignore the legend. By the 1960s, serious expeditions began. Tim Dinsdale, an aeronautical engineer, filmed a hump crossing the loch in 1960. The footage, though distant and shaky, was later analyzed by experts at the Royal Air Force, who concluded that the object appeared to be animate and not a boat. Dinsdale dedicated the rest of his life to studying Nessie. To him, the creature represented a surviving relic of a lost age, perhaps a plesiosaur, a marine reptile thought extinct for 65 million years. His theory ignited public fascination. Museums filled with models of long-necked reptiles gliding through prehistoric seas. Children dreamed of scientists uncovering fossils beneath the highlands. Loch Ness had become a symbol of resistance, a reminder that nature still had secrets left to keep. But for every believer, a skeptic stood ready. Zoologists argued that the loch's cold, nutrient-poor waters could not support a breeding population of large predators. Marine biologists noted that no carcass, no bones, no credible physical trace had ever been found. If Nessie exists, one said, she has mastered the art of vanishing. The debate sharpened the myth rather than weakening it. Each new expedition seemed to prove both sides right at once. To believers, every anomaly was evidence. To skeptics, every blurry photograph was another trick of light, wave, or wishful thinking. By the 1970s, the legend had outgrown the loch itself. It lived in films, postcards, and the dreams of those who needed wonder more than proof. And deep beneath the still waters, sonar would soon hum again, ready to uncover what generations had sought in vain.
By the dawn of the 1970s, the world's faith in monsters had begun to fade, but at Loch Ness, Curiosity refused to die. Now it was no longer the work of dreamers with binoculars, but of scientists with sonar. Technology had become the new mythology, and the loch itself became a laboratory. One of the first to bring precision into mystery was Dr. Robert H. Rines, an American inventor and lawyer with a background in radar systems. In 1972, Rines arrived with a team from the Academy of Applied Science, armed with underwater cameras, sonar scanners, and a quiet conviction that something extraordinary moved beneath those waves. During one of their night operations, the sonar returned a signal, a massive object moving with intent, pacing just below their vessel. Cameras were triggered automatically. When the images developed, the world held its breath. There it was, the outline of a large diamond-shaped flipper, pale against the blackness. It was unmistakable, reptilian, muscular, real, or so it seemed. The photos were analyzed by experts at the British Museum of Natural History and other institutions. Some declared them genuine, others suspected technical artifacts. The debate intensified when Rines' later expeditions captured new, haunting frames, what appeared to be the body and neck of a large animal suspended in mid-water. Magazines printed the images beside captions like, "Proof at last?" Television programs broadcast documentaries narrated in trembling tones. The line between science and legend blurred. Then came disappointment. Further analysis of the photographs suggested the flipper might have been enhanced by lighting and sediment. Still, no one could fully dismiss them. They were too strange, too precise to be mere coincidence. In 1975, Rines returned again, this time accompanied by Sir Peter Scott, founder of the World Wildlife Fund. Together, they announced the possibility of naming the creature, Nessie rhomboteryx, the Ness Wonder with the diamond-shaped fin. The name, registered with the British government, technically gave Nessie a species classification, if only for a time. For believers, it was vindication. For skeptics, a public relations stunt. But for the loch, it was another ripple, proof that no amount of science could drain its mystery. As the 1980s arrived, new tools promised final answers. Sonar had advanced, and researchers launched the most ambitious operation yet, Operation Deep Scan, 1987. 24 boats, each equipped with high-resolution echo sounders, lined up across the loch and swept its waters simultaneously. The mission was historic, the largest sonar study ever conducted on a lake. As the flotilla moved, pings echoed across the valley. On their monitors, a blip appeared, deep, solitary, and moving. It was large, perhaps 20 feet in length, traveling at depth before vanishing into cold silence. The data could not identify what it was, only that it was something. The scientists released their report, anomalous readings consistent with a large moving object. No further explanation followed. It was both proof and absence, revelation and void, the essence of Loch Ness itself. But as the 20th century closed, the tide began to turn once more. The cameras grew sharper, the instruments more exact, and the monster more elusive. In a world of satellites and smartphones, mystery became an endangered species. Yet even precision could not erase curiosity. In 2018, a team led by geneticist Professor Neil Gemmell from the University of Otago in New Zealand conducted the most thorough biological survey of Loch Ness ever attempted. They collected over 250 water samples, filtering DNA from the sediments and surface layers to catalog every living organism present. The results shocked many. There was no trace of reptilian DNA, no plesiosaurs, no unknown predators, nothing that fit the monster of legend. But there was something else, an overwhelming presence of European eel DNA. Hundreds of genetic markers pointed to a dense population of European eels, some potentially much larger than anyone expected. Could Nessie, after all these centuries, be a giant eel, a mutant born of the loch's unique ecosystem? Or did the creature remain hidden, deeper than instruments could reach, in the cold layers where no light, and perhaps no truth, could survive? Science had offered explanations, but not closure. For every mystery it solved, the loch produced another. Cameras had captured the impossible, sonar had detected the invisible, and DNA had revealed the improbable. Yet none could silence the question echoing through the highlands. What if the legend was never meant to be found, only followed? Night returns to Loch Ness. The boats drift back to shore. Monitors fade to static. Beneath the black surface, a silence stirs, deep, watchful, waiting.
The legend of Loch Ness had survived religion, ridicule, and radar. By the late 20th century, Nessie was no longer just a creature of speculation. She had become a symbol of how deeply humanity needs to believe in something unseen. Along the shores of the loch, gift shops sold postcards of long-necked silhouettes gliding through silver water. Tourists stood shoulder to shoulder with cameras and binoculars, scanning the horizon for the faintest ripple. For every scientist who dismissed the myth, 10,000 travelers arrived hoping just once to see something move. It was faith disguised as curiosity. And faith, as history shows, can build monuments as easily as it builds illusions. Even in the shadow of sonar and satellites, new sightings never stopped. In 1979, a group of campers claimed to have seen a massive shape rise from the loch at dusk. A hump, maybe two, they said, dark and glistening like wet stone. In 1982, a local man named Alastair Boyd took a photograph of what appeared to be a long, dark body just below the surface. It was published worldwide. Years later, Boyd himself would admit that he believed the creature existed, not because of the photos, but because of what the loch did to people. It pulls something out of you, he said, a kind of longing you didn't know was there. But where belief thrives, deception follows. Through the years, Nessie has been seen in almost everything. Drifting logs, otters swimming in line, winds carving waves into strange shapes. In 2005, a man named Gordon Holmes filmed a dark object cutting rapidly across the water. Some dubbed it, quote, the best video ever taken, unquote. Scientists later suggested it was likely a small seal or bird distorted by distance and reflection. Each time evidence emerges, rational voices rise to explain it away, and yet the legend grows. Because every photograph, even the hoaxes, feed the same hunger, the need for mystery. In 1979, a television producer staged a fake expedition using an animatronic model to simulate a monster surfacing. The hoax was exposed, but the ratings soared. In the 1990s, tabloids published photos of supposed baby monsters washed ashore, only for them to be revealed as plastic props. None of it diminished the fascination. The myth, it seemed, had evolved, feeding on attention,
thriving on disbelief. Even psychology found its reflection in the loch. Cognitive scientists studying eyewitness accounts noted how expectation shapes perception. When people look for something, their brains fill gaps with what they want to see. A wave becomes a creature. A shadow becomes a legend. The Loch Ness Monster became less a beast and more a mirror, a reflection of human imagination projected onto dark water. And yet, that same imagination gave rise to something beautiful. For the communities around the highlands, Nessie became both guardian and gift. Tourism flourished. Scientists received funding for sonar research. The legend, whether real or not, kept a forgotten corner of Scotland alive. Even skeptics began to admit that the truth, whatever it was, had value beyond discovery. Because sometimes it is the search itself that defines us. Still, the waters of Loch Ness hold their own kind of intelligence, silent, patient, unyielding. Locals often say the loch chooses who it reveals itself to. Stories persist of strange sounds beneath the surface, deep, resonant vibrations like the hum of machinery. Divers tell of sudden pressure drops and unseen currents as if something massive passed by. These experiences defy evidence, yet linger in memory, impossible to measure, but harder to forget. Scientists, too, wrestle with the same paradox. For decades, they've studied the way legends endure, not just in Loch Ness, but across cultures. The Yeti in the Himalayas, Bigfoot in America, the Kraken in Nordic seas. Every society, it seems, invents its own guardian of the unknown. Nessie is simply the one who stayed. Perhaps that endurance says more about us than about any monster. Because what people truly seek in Loch Ness isn't proof, it's possibility. A reminder that the universe hasn't finished speaking. That somewhere, beyond what we can see or measure, something extraordinary might still be waiting. And so the watchers return, standing by the cold black water at dawn. Fog rolls in, and every sound becomes a question. The loch remains silent, and yet in that silence it whispers back. Dawn returns to the highlands. The mist rises once more, curling through the valley like breath from the ancient earth. The waters of Loch Ness lie still, cold, unbroken, endless. For nearly 15 centuries, these depths have carried a single question across generations. What lies beneath? It is a question that has survived empires, outlasted hoaxes, and resisted every sonar beam ever fired into its darkness. Because the truth of Loch Ness is not measured in data or DNA, but in something far older, in the ache of wonder itself. To walk its shores is to feel time loosen. The wind whispers of monks and missionaries, of fishermen and dreamers, of scientists who stared into green sonar screens hoping for a signal that could make the impossible real. The water holds all of them, Saint Columba and his beast, the Mackays and their sighting, Rhines and his sonar echoes, and every nameless traveler who has waited here, watching for the surface to break. And maybe that's why the mystery endures. Because what people truly chase in these waters isn't a monster, but a memory of a time when the world still had edges, and beyond those edges there were things to be discovered. At night, the loch becomes a mirror. The stars tremble on its surface like eyes looking back. Somewhere below, layers of silt and shadow hold secrets the world has never touched. Scientists will say it's only eels, only illusion, only imagination. But imagination, after all, is what gives life to truth. Every culture has its deep water, that place where belief and doubt blend into one. In Scotland, that water is Loch Ness. Here, myth and modernity exist side by side, like twin reflections. One belongs to the mind, the other to the heart. And so the story goes on. Year after year, people still come. They bring cameras and sonar and hope. They speak in hushed voices, afraid to break the silence. And sometimes, just before dawn, when the fog lies heavy on the lake and the world holds its breath, something moves. Maybe it's wind, maybe it's wave, or maybe, just maybe, it's the last mystery that refuses to be caught. Because Nessie doesn't need to be real to exist. She lives in the space between fact and faith, in that fragile, beautiful place where imagination still has power. As long as there are eyes that search the water, as long as there are stories whispered beside fires, as long as human beings crave the unseen, the legend of Loch Ness will never die. The truth is simple. We made the monster, but in doing so, the monster made us remember how to dream. Some mysteries were never meant to be solved, only felt, only followed. If you still believe the world hides wonders waiting to be found, you've found your place. Subscribe and keep walking with us into the Hidden Myst.